What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been fishing for about a half hour. I've been fishing with the white whopper plopper and the shallow running crankbait. I got one hit off of this, one short strike. Nothing off the whopper plopper yet. I've been throwing the spinnerbait intermittently throughout. I've had one hit off the spinnerbait. I'm getting ready to change locations. There's just no real fish here. I've been fishing a deep weed bed for about a half hour that I normally do well with in the summer. It's pretty cold this morning. It was a 47-degree start. It may actually be a little colder where I traveled to because I went a little north, so it may be a couple degrees colder than that. So I don't know with a cold front if the fish are moving in shallow. So I'm going to head to a different part of this pond and see if I can find some fish. Primarily going to be using the same things, that shallow running crankbait, the whopper plopper, and the spinnerbait. And I'll be throwing a big fluke again in the lily pads. So if you saw my last episode, that was the first time I had fished the whopper plopper and the shallow running crankbait, and it just really weren't good conditions. It was real windy and I only had 2 hours of fish, and it was just hard to fish both of them. So I'm going to give them a shot this morning, see if I can get some fish on them, and we're going to head down and see if we can find them. All right, so I'm at my location change. I'm in about 4 feet of water, some deep weed beds, some submerged cabbage. I'm gonna try the whopper plopper. What I'm gonna do is just alternate between the whopper plopper, the shallow running crankbait, and my spinnerbait. There's a fish. What I was doing with this fish, I was dragging it right on them grass weeds. This fish actually hit when this lure was on its side. So the blades weren't actually turning. Just a little guy. I cast it over here because I couldn't get the whopper plopper or the crankbait through there, so I hit it with a spinnerbait. All right, so the sun is up over the tree line. It's poking through the clouds. I'm still gonna throw the whopper plopper, even though I haven't had much luck on it this morning. It's a pretty good morning for it, minus the northeast wind we have. But fish just haven't been on the top water at all. So I'm gonna head right in shallow. I haven't had much for interest out deep on the deep weed beds at all. Just that one little fish as I was coming to this spot. There is a big fish in there, and that wasn't the big fish. Saw a big fish in there roll as soon as this hit. I think I spooked it, and just as that fish spooked, a smaller fish hit it. It was clearly much smaller than the one that rolled. There's definitely some active fish in here, but they're just not committing to anything. I've had 3 or 4 fish come up and look at this fluke, but I just won't take it. Got some serious fish feeding up in there. So I'm gonna watch that area. And I'm gonna sneak up. Oh yeah, a bunch of fish in there. This fish, I think, is coming towards me. Yep. Pickerel. All right, brand new pearl fluke. I'm gonna head in a little closer where I saw that fish feeding. That fish looked like a whale going through there. It had so much of a wake behind it. There's only about a foot of water in that area. So many fish in here. They're just not really that aggressive this morning. I'm seeing fish swirls all over this place. Yeah, see, there's fish trashing bait all over this place. Oh, oh. Oh, he got it. Let me guess, pickerel. Yes, it's a pickerel. That was a brand new fluke. Brand new. Yeah, actually, he didn't get it too bad. Them things are notorious for destroying soft plastics. Even though that's not what I'm looking for, them are still fun to catch. There's a pretty clear difference between the pickerel and the bass. That pickerel I saw come from about 10 feet away, and he hit it, didn't even hesitate. I've had 3 or 4 fish come up and just nose up to this thing and take off, and more than likely them are probably bass. The bass are not feeding well this morning. Yeah, I just had a nice bass take off. The bass are actually spooking this morning, which is strange. Bass normally don't spook as much as they are this morning. Fish. That feels like a bass. Oh, this fish is coming right towards me. Yeah. Decent bass, nothing huge. Here we go. First relatively decent bass of the morning. Came off a super fluke. I've been hammering these fish with pretty much everything, from my spinnerbait to the whopper plopper, that crankbait. And it has been an extremely tough morning. I think that northeast wind is really messing with the fish because the bass just have not been very aggressive. See, the fish just nosed right up to it and is looking at it right now, but not interested. That's probably a bass. Won't hit it. I bet that's probably the 10th or 15th one I've seen nose up to this fluke. Oh, wow. That, I think, was a pretty good sized bass. I didn't actually get a good look at it, but it looked way too thick to be a pickerel. I got enough of the look of the side of that it looked like it was a bass. Fish. Could be a bass. Could be a pickerel. I think it's a pickerel. Yep, pickerel. Well, at least the pickerel are on fire this morning. I'm looking at some activity about 100, 150 yards in front of me there. I can't tell if that's some bait being pushed over there or what, but I'm gonna make the paddle just to make sure. If there's some fish over there moving bait, I want to be over there. Yeah, the closer I get, definitely there are some fish moving some bait over there. So what I'm gonna do is just try to creep into this real slowly. Looks like there's a pretty good ball over there from what I can tell. There's a little bait jumping all over this place. So I think the fish are over here moving them pretty good. Yeah, there's some bait over there as well. Or what looked to be bait. Yep, there's a fish. Yep, these fish were moving bait. And I want this fish to actually drag me away from that, if all possible. I'm in about 30 feet of water right here, and that fish hit subsurface on the spinnerbait. So they were definitely trashing some bait. Okay, yeah, that is a very, 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 very nice bass. All right, so this is the first decent bass of the morning. I was fishing off a shoreline. I was about 100, I was probably 50 yards off the shoreline, and I looked another 100, 150, and I saw what looked like fish moving bait. And I came over and checked it out, and first cast with a spinnerbait, this guy hit it. I'm not sure exactly how much water I'm in. Yes, that's a tank. Yes. That is a tank. I'm not sure how much water I'm in. I'm in anywhere from 20 to 30. Giant fish. So this weed was just floating, and that fish came off this spinnerbait. So they're definitely moving some bait over here. So I'm just gonna kind of follow this bait school and see if I can get some more fish. But it's amazing to catch a fish like that right in the middle of a pond. I mean, there's nothing out here. I mean, it's just flat as flat could be, and I saw them pushing bait, and I think the bait scattered or the fish moved them elsewhere. May have some action over there. Yep, another one. Yes. Yeah, another nice bass. Not as big as the last one. Second cast with a spinnerbait, just hooked onto another one. Certainly not as big as that first one, but still a good fish nonetheless. But they're still moving bait out here. I mean, that thing swallowed that. So, I mean, they're definitely feeding. I don't know if they just weren't in shallow and they're out here pushing bait. I don't know, but it's been a slow morning up to this point. And we have some more fish over here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the whopper plopper over and see if I can get a fish off that. All right, nothing off the whopper plopper. All right, let's try the shallow running crankbait. Fish off the crankbait. think it's a decent fish. I don't want him to pull me that way. I want him to go this way. So I want to go away from where I'm seeing that bait surface. All right, so this was the second cast with a crankbait. I'd casted 4 or 5 times with the whopper plopper, didn't get anything. Casted twice with this and picked this little guy up. Same pattern, just kind of following this bait school. He actually hit this pretty hard. I was kind of really skeptical with this when I used it the other day. But second cast is pretty good. I mean, that fish was on it, so. Just a small guy, but a couple pound range. Came off that shallow running crankbait. And I'll throw this a few more times. See if I can get some fish on it. All right, so I don't see any immediate surfacing in this area. It's calm enough that I can see for at least half a mile or so. So I just can't pick them up right now. Oh yeah, there's a fish. Oh, another nice bass. Nice jump. I don't know if it picked it up on the camera or not. All right, same thing. This fish is pulling me where the bait school is, and I'm gonna just try to paddle away from it. Another nice fish off the crankbait. He's hooked on just the rear hook, so I wouldn't be. I got him. Yes, another nice fish. Another nice fish. Here we go. What a morning saver. Just lucked out and saw them bait surfacing and picked up a couple studs out here. That fish was off that same crankbait, and I'm still in roughly 15 to 30 feet of water. I'll check the depth chart once I get home. I'll put it on the screen, but it's right around the 15 to 30 mark, and these fish are just out here moving this bait around, and they're actually pretty aggressive, so let's get some more. Yeah, another one. Off the crankbait. Oh, it's a pickerel out here. It's a pickerel. All right, enough. That actually weren't bad. Pickerel off the crankbait. All right, so that was a couple casts with a crankbait and a couple with the spinnerbait, and I didn't get hit on either one of them. Oh, fluke. I was just gonna say I tried throwing the fluke in. Toss this in first cast, and I'm still kind of following this bait school here. Thank you, little guy. All right, just a little guy. That one came off the big Zoom Super Fluke. I'd actually set my pole down just to readjust, and that fish was on it. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna cast pretty much right to that same area. I can just see a little bit of bubbling over there. Yep, oh, yep, one was on it. Yep, oh, they dropped it. So that one sunk down probably 10 feet, and I saw my line jump. Just didn't get the hook. I'm gonna try changing out lures. I have a crankbait that'll run down to, I think, 8 feet. 5 to 8 feet, somewhere around there. All right, what I'm gonna be tossing is this Rapala crankbait. I have actually written on it, it'll go 7 to 15. So I think this is gonna be an actual really good lure if I can find this school again. Yep, there we go. Oh, that's a nice bass. That's a nice bass. Oh, he popped me. That's a nice bass. He hit right by the boat. Oh, that's a nice bass. Yeah, that's a really nice bass. All right, not quite as big as I thought it was. He just hit it so hard and jumped so close next to the boat, it looked bigger, but I mean, still a nice fish, but I thought it was a little bigger than that. Crushed it though. Crushed that guy right by the boat. Trying to find this bait. The water calmed down enough. I just don't see it. I'm gonna try the fluke again. I had quite a few hits off that out here, but I missed 2 or 3 fish, but I'm gonna try it again where it's a little calmer. I'll be able to see my line better. Again, I was just kind of slacking on that one. I was actually looking at something over there. I couldn't tell if that's bait or not, but I felt the jump on my thumb here, and I think we have another nice bass. I haven't actually seen him yet. Is that a smallmouth? Possibly may have a nice smallmouth. Yep, that's a nice smallmouth. There we go. That's a stud of a smallmouth. He hit off that white fluke. Like I said, I was just kind of slacking. I was actually looking about 100 yards off to my left. I thought I saw some bait pooling over there, but I felt the line jump on my thumb, so I set the hook, and that was a nice smallmouth. I don't actually see the bait moving anymore. I can see pretty good all directions, and I don't know if the bass stopped pushing them or what. So I'm gonna keep casting for them. As long as I get them out here, I'm gonna keep hitting them. All right, so I'm thinking the bass are pretty well shut off here, unless I'm just not in the area. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fish a couple casts here. Then I'm gonna paddle about 50 yards and just make sure I'm not in the wrong spot. Oh, loon coming in right in front of me. This guy has been flying all morning. There's one loon that every time I fish this place flies all morning long. I don't know if this is a juvenile that's, you know, preparing to take off in the fall or what, but this guy flies a lot. I've never seen a loon fly as much as this guy does. All right, folks, that's all for the morning. I hit that bait school another 2 or 3 times and didn't get any fish off it. I think the bass that were following them were probably onto me. But what an amazing change of the morning. I was struggling. I only caught a couple small fish up to that point and a bunch of pickerel, but once I found that bait school, picked up a bunch of quality fish. Caught fish off of 4 different lures, 2 different crankbaits, a fluke, and a spinnerbait. I finally got some fish off that shallow runner, which is something I really wanted to try to do for the day. So I'm glad I got a couple fish off that. I could not get a fish off that whopper plopper. Even in that bait school, I threw that 15, 20 casts and didn't even get a hit off it. Changed to a spinnerbait, got one I think the first cast. Went to that shallow runner and I got one the second cast after that. So for some reason, they just weren't interested in the top water at all. But it turned out to be a pretty good day, especially with it being as cold as it was and that east wind blowing. I think if it weren't for that bait school, it would have been a really rough morning. But we're going to wrap it up here. We'll see you guys on the next one.